Ever wish you had that magnetic charm, you know, that it factor that just draws people in?
Yeah, like instant rapport.
Exactly. And effortless connections.
Sounds
Well,
nice.
get ready, because in this deep dive, we're all about becoming more likable.
We're likable, huh?
Yep. We've got 3 awesome YouTube videos lined up from Psych2Go, Social Confidence Mastery, and Incognito CEO.
Okay, and what do they say?
Each one's got unique tips for boosting your charisma. Think of it as a crash course in winning hearts and minds.
Love it. I'm already intrigued. So tell me, what makes these sources so special?
Well, they're not just some one-size-fits-all advice, right?
Right.
We've got research-backed psychology tips from Psych2Go, real-life stories from Social Confidence Mastery, and even wisdom from classics like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, which Incognito CEO dives into.
Wow, that's a pretty diverse mix. Sounds like there's
Uh-huh.
something in there for everyone.
Exactly. By the end of this deep dive, you'll have a whole toolkit for connecting with anyone.
No more awkward silences or struggling to make conversation.
Haha, exactly. All right, let's jump right in. First up, something Psych2Go calls spontaneous trait inference.
Spontaneous trait inference. Sounds complicated.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty simple. When you say nice things about other people, people start unconsciously associating those good traits with you.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying, like, if I compliment someone on their creativity, people will start seeing me as more creative.
It's kind of like that. You're giving yourself a compliment by complimenting someone else.
Makes sense. It's all about the power of association.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
If you're always gossiping or criticizing, people will start to connect those negative vibes with you.
Oh, for sure. Nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy.
But if you're pointing out the good in others, you get linked with those positive qualities.
That's so true.
You build a reputation for being a positive and supportive person,
Right.
which naturally makes people want to be around you.
And speaking of being positive, Social Confidence Mastery tells a great story about this.
Oh, tell me about it.
Okay, so they were talking about connecting with a new friend,
Uh-huh.
and it was all over these shared interests, like, favorite books or some online personalities.
I see. So basically finding common ground.
Exactly. It just shows you that commonalities breed connection, and those positive vibes make you even more appealing.
It's like you're instantly on the same wavelength.
Totally. And it just creates a more comfortable, atmosphere.
It's all about creating that atmosphere of trust and positivity. Think of it like this. Negativity erodes trust, while genuine appreciation strengthens it.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, now let's get into something I find super fascinating: body language.
Body language, that's a whole world of communication in itself.
I know, right? So Psych2Go explains this thing called the chameleon effect.
Chameleon effect.
Yeah, it's where subtly mirroring someone's posture and expressions can actually help you build rapport.
Ah, I see. So it's like you're saying, hey, we're on the same wavelength without actually saying it.
Exactly.
But I imagine there's a fine line between subtle mirroring and straight up copying.
Oh, for sure. You don't want to be a total copycat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like, if they're leaning forward, you might subtly lean in a little too, just, to show you're engaged and on the same page.
Exactly. If they're laid back and relaxed, you wouldn't want to be all bouncy and hyper, would you?
Right. That'd be so awkward.
Totally.
And while we're talking body language, Psych2Go also reminds us about eye contact.
Ah, yes, the windows to the soul.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's important to engage with whoever you're talking to, but, don't stare them down.
Nobody likes to feel like they're under a microscope.
Exactly. Here's a little fun fact. Have you ever noticed someone mirroring your body language?
Oh, you mean like when I cross my legs and then they cross theirs a few seconds later?
Yeah. It could be a subconscious sign they're into you.
Interesting. So it's a subtle way of signaling, hey, I like you, basically.
Exactly. All right, so you've talked about positive vibes and body language. Now let's shift gears. Incognito CEO, and he's drawing from Dale Carnegie here, emphasizes being non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental, okay.
And they made this great point. Criticizing others just breeds negativity, and it makes people less likely to open up to you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. So this ties into what Social Confidence Mastery was talking about.
Oh, what's that?
Emotional intelligence.
Ah, yes.
It's not about suppressing your opinions. It's about understanding that everyone has their own journey, their own perspective.
You don't have to agree with everyone, but you can still approach them with empathy.
Yeah, exactly. And understanding. And actually, they use a really powerful example of a successful entrepreneur who was once, believe it or not, broke.
Really?
It just goes to show, understanding someone's struggles.
Understanding someone's struggles can create a strong bond.
That's exactly it. Vulnerability and empathy are so essential.
They really are the foundation for building those real, lasting connections.
Absolutely. Speaking of positive vibes, you know what makes people feel really good?
Tell me.
Talking about themselves.
Ah, that's true. Everyone loves to talk about themselves a little bit.
It's true. And Psych2Go even cites a 2012 Harvard study that found talking about ourselves releases pleasure chemicals.
Really. So biologically, we're wired to enjoy talking about ourselves.
It seems that way. So while self-expression is important, the magic really happens when you become a good listener.
Yes, it's one thing to let people talk, but it's another to really listen and engage with what they're saying.
An Incognito CEO actually suggests taking it a step further, like actively drawing others out
How do you do that?
by asking engaging questions.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And he shares this great story about striking up a conversation with, get this, a royal guard.
Whoa, a royal guard. They're not exactly known for being chatty.
I know, right? But he asked him about history, and it totally made the guard feel valued.
So it's about making people feel important and heard.
And it led to a surprisingly deep interaction.
It's fascinating how these seemingly small actions can have such a big impact, you know?
I know. It's all about shifting the focus from yourself to the other person and genuinely wanting to understand their world.
Yeah. That makes you a much more engaging and likable person to be around.
All right, get ready for some contagious enthusiasm, because next up is emotional contagion from Psych2Go.
Okay, what is emotional contagion?
Basically, our emotions can rub off on other people.
Oh, interesting.
So, if you're radiating joy, others are more likely to feel joyful around you.
I can see that. I've definitely experienced that before.
And this connects perfectly back to Social Confidence Mastery's advice about managing your own emotions.
Right. So if you're constantly complaining or dwelling on negativity,
You're going to spread that negativity like wildfire.
you become a bit of an energy vampire.
That's a good way to put it. And Incognito CEO suggests a simple but powerful action, smiling.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Yep. They argue that faking it till you make it can actually shift your mood
Yeah.
and create this ripple effect of positivity.
Interesting. So even if you're feeling down, making an effort to be positive can actually help lift your spirits.
And those around you.
It's like putting on a happy face for the world, but then the world ends up making you feel happy in return.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But of course, there are days when you're not feeling your best.
We all have those days.
So what then?
What about those days?
Well, Social Confidence Mastery has some advice about venting.
Ah, venting. A classic coping mechanism.
They say it's healthy to share your struggles, but to be selective about who you vent to.
That's good advice. You don't want to overload people with your negativity.
Right. You want to find those people who can offer support and perspective.
Not just amplify the negativity.
Exactly. As we're going through all these awesome tips for becoming more likable, I'm realizing there's a common thread here.
Oh, what's that?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. It's at the foundation for all these techniques to actually work.
You're right. You can't make others feel seen and heard if you don't even understand your own thoughts and feelings first.
Exactly. If you aren't aware of how your negativity affects people,
You could be pushing people away without even realizing it.
it's true. And on the flip side, if you don't know your own strengths and passions,
Yeah,
it can be hard to connect with people, to find that, common ground.
makes sense. So it's like self-awareness is the key ingredient.
It's like that secret ingredient that makes all these other tips work better.
Because it helps you put them into practice authentically. You don't want to come across as fake or forced.
Exactly. Okay, so how do we, become more self-aware?
Well, the good news is self-awareness is like a muscle. You can develop it
Well, that's good to know.
through things like mindfulness or journaling, even honest self-reflection.
So basically taking the time to get to know yourself better.
Exactly. You start to understand yourself and how you impact the world around you.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk about some pitfalls. Things people mess up when they're trying to be more likable.
Okay, like what?
One that comes to mind is trying too hard.
Ah, yes. The classic overeager beaver syndrome.
It's that feeling when someone's just laying it on too thick.
Showering you with compliments that just feel fake.
Yes.
Yes.
Or mirroring your every move. Come on.
It's a total turnoff.
It really is.
Mm.
And I think it comes from, a lack of confidence.
When you're not secure in yourself, you might try to be someone you're not.
It's like you're overcompensating.
Right.
So how do we find that balance between being intentional about, likability, but also staying true to ourselves.
And it all circles back to self-awareness.
Ah, there it is again.
When you understand your values, your strengths, even your weaknesses, you approach social situations with more confidence.
You don't need to put on a show because you already know you bring something to the table.
Exactly. And that genuine confidence, it's magnetic.
It's true. Another pitfall I've seen is people-pleasing. Like, to the point where they lose themselves.
Oh, yeah. It's like thinking you have to agree with everyone, be everything to everyone just to be liked.
It's exhausting.
And it leads to burnout and resentment.
For sure. You can't build genuine connections if you're constantly sacrificing your own needs.
Exactly. Remember, social confidence mastery, they said you don't need to please everyone.
That's such a good reminder.
And being selective about who you open up to.
Right? And who you spend your time with.
It helps you build those stronger connections.
And they also talk about finding your tribe.
Ah, yes.
Your people.
Those people who appreciate you, quirks and all.
You don't need to be universally liked.
So true.
In fact, trying to please everyone.
What about it?
It can actually backfire.
Yeah.
When you're not authentic, people can sense it. It erodes trust.
So how do you deal with those times when, like, you disagree with someone, but you don't want to ruin the relationship?
That's where Incognito CEO's advice about avoiding arguments comes in. Oh yeah, they said you can't win an argument.
Even if you win, you might lose the connection.
It's better to find some common ground, right?
And just agree to disagree.
That's so important.
And don't forget Psych-Dugo's point about being non-judgmental.
Right, being non-judgmental is so key.
You approach disagreements with curiosity, not judgment.
It creates a more open space.
Exactly, for dialogue and understanding.
Okay, one more pitfall I gotta mention. Using these techniques to, manipulate people.
That's a really good point. These tips can be powerful for building positive relationships, but they can definitely be misused.
Yeah, like someone could use the chameleon effect to get you to buy something.
Or shower you with insincere compliments just to get on your good side. It's all about intention.
These techniques work best when they come from a good place.
A genuine desire to connect.
And to build relationships that benefit both people.
Absolutely. It's like anything else, it can be used for good or for bad.
True.
Be mindful of your motivations.
And make sure you're approaching people with respect.
Yeah.
And authenticity.
This conversation's been so eye-opening. We've not only, learned practical tips for being more likable,
Yeah.
but we've also explored these deeper aspects of human connection.
That's what I love about these deep dives. We go beyond the surface.
We get into the nitty-gritty of it all.
Exactly.
So are we ready to bring it all together
I think so.
and talk about how these principles work in different areas of our lives?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Likability isn't just some abstract concept. It's a skill set
A skill set.
that can really enhance your relationships, your career, and your well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from the psychology of compliments
Yeah.
to, vulnerability and authenticity.
Right.
But let's get practical. How can people actually use this stuff?
In real life, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In different areas of their lives.
I like it. Because likability isn't about winning a popularity contest.
Right.
It's a skill that helps you build relationships,
Advance your career.
boost your well-being. Okay, so let's start with friendships. How can these tips help us connect with the people we care about?
Well, remember what Social Confidence Mastery said about common ground? It's not just about shared interests. It's about shared values, experiences, aspirations. Those points of connection that create kinship.
Like that story about the new friend.
Yeah.
Bonding over similar challenges they both overcame.
Exactly. Once you've found that common ground, deepen the bond.
Deepen it how?
By being vulnerable.
Okay.
Expressing genuine appreciation. Both Social Confidence Mastery and Incognito CEO were big on that.
So instead of just, surface-level chit-chat,
Yeah.
maybe you open up about a struggle
Right.
or express gratitude for something your friend did.
It's moving beyond those superficial conversations. You create space for real intimacy.
Now let's switch gears to the workplace.
Work? Okay.
How can being more likable help you at work?
This is where Incognito CEO's stuff, based on Dale Carnegie, really comes in. Think about it. Who gets promoted? Who gets those good assignments?
Usually it's the people everyone likes and respects.
Exactly. That respect comes from being a good listener, offering appreciation, approaching disagreements diplomatically.
So, instead of trying to bulldoze your coworkers in a meeting,
Yeah.
you actually listen to their ideas.
And find ways to collaborate.
And if there are conflicts,
You avoid those big arguments.
like Incognito CEO said,
Find that common ground
those small things can make a huge difference, huh?
in your reputation and career Absolutely. Now, what about beyond work and friends?
Beyond work and friends.
How can these principles help our overall well-being?
That's a great question.
Remember Psych2Go's research on emotional contagion?
Yeah, emotions rubbing off on other people.
Exactly. When you focus on those good emotions,
Yeah.
joy, gratitude, empathy.
Not only do you feel better,
Right.
but you spread that positivity.
It's like a ripple effect.
So being likable isn't just about, like, being liked.
No.
It's about creating a more positive world.
Starting with yourself. I love that. Because at its core, likability is about our shared humanity.
Our shared humanity.
Nurturing those genuine connections that make life richer.
This has been awesome. I feel like I've gained so much from this deep dive.
Me too.
Not just the practical stuff, but a deeper understanding of connection.
As you go out there, use these insights. But remember, the most important thing, authenticity. Let your true self shine.
That's such great advice. Thanks for joining us on this journey becoming more likable.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep those connections strong.
See you next time.